There's a really common reason that intermediate guitarists get stuck at that intermediate level. It's so common, it's an epidemic, really. I see it all the time, and I want you to know it's not a talent problem. The real problem is you're just memorizing stuff without truly understanding it. And that's why you can't connect the dots or put the puzzle pieces together on the fretboard. Here's the cycle I see all the time. You listen to your playing, it doesn't sound musical, so you think you need to learn more stuff, more scales and patterns. So you memorize more stuff and your playing still doesn't sound musical. You also start to realize you have no idea how to apply what you've memorized to different musical situations. And round and round and round it goes. Today, I'm going to show you 3 ideas that will make you a far better guitar player than putting in another 1,000 hours of running scales. So if you want to get better, grab your guitar, let's get into it. First, let me tell you what I'll call a tale of 2 students. They come to their lessons and I show them both the same thing. Let's say triads up and down the neck. Student number 1 comes back to his next lesson and he blows me away. Without me asking, he took the triads and reworked 5 songs that he already knew, playing only the triad shapes. He just ran with it. Student number 2 has memorized the shapes perfectly, but he has no idea how or why to use them in his playing. And honestly, he never will unless I spell it out for him step by step. And here's what's interesting. So many teachers would look at student number 1 and say, wow, he's really talented. And look at student number 2 and say, he just doesn't have it. But that's not what I see. I see 2 people whose minds work very differently. Student number 1 has a process, and maybe he doesn't even know it, for taking something new and making it functional, making it his own, making it musical. That process is exactly what I'm going to show you today, starting with a concept that may be the best way to develop real fluency on the guitar, playing famous melodies by ear. So what's up with that? Why is learning melodies such a big deal? Well, I'm not saying don't memorize things. I'm saying memorize the right things in the right way. A melody is infinitely more musical than a scale pattern because it already is music. A melody has phrasing, rhythm, personality. Learning a melody goes way beyond what's required to play a scale along with a metronome. You have to use your ear, you have to figure out the fingerings, and melodies are intervallic rather than linear like a scale. They skip around, so you can't just run it mindlessly. The melody we're going to start with today, how about the verses of the Beatles classic, Let It Be? Let's keep it really simple. We're going to play it in the key of C, and the underlying chords would be C, G, A minor, F, C, G, F, back to C. And here's the melody played really straightforward. It's simple, it's beautiful, and I play that kind of sitting in the 5th position where we have the box pattern number 1 of A minor pentatonic or box 5 of C major pentatonic, however you want to look at it. And I could very easily put up a tab, but I'm not going to because tabs, they're another thing that's holding you back. They're another way of mindlessly seeing where your fingers are supposed to go without having to think about what you're doing. I will give you this diagram that shows all the notes I just played, and I'll even tell you the sequence of the melody in 2 parts. The first half, we have E, F, G, G, A, E, G, G, C, D, D, E, E, D, D, C, C. The second half goes E, E, F, E, E, D, E, D, D, C, and then C up an octave. Now, I gave you the notes there, but what I want you to do in the future is figure these things out on your own using your ear. And there's going to be trial and error. You're going to make mistakes. But that's good because you start developing and fine-tuning the connection between your ear, what you're hearing in your head, and what comes out through your fingers onto the guitar. It's a lot like a self-correcting GPS system. Now, once you've worked out and memorized a melody, what I want you to do is play it in several different places on the fretboard. We know that the melody starts on an E note, so let's just look for some other E notes and make our way up the neck. There's an E at fret 7 of the A string. Now we just played the melody and we played that note using our ring finger and we were in the 5th position. But let's go up to the 7th position and play that E note starting on our index finger, play the melody from there. Here's another E at the 9th fret of the G string. Let's play it here. Okay, how about starting on the E at the 12th fret of the E string? One more. Let's start on the E at fret 14 of the D string. Let's give that a try. So that's pretty cool, and I can't overemphasize how important practicing like this is. It's teaching you multiple things at once. You're learning the fretboard. You're learning the sound and spacing of different intervals. You're learning timing and phrasing by listening to the melody in your head and having it come out of your fingers. This is an entirely different world than running scales like a trained monkey. This is real musician stuff, a next level activity that will take your playing to an entirely new place. And now, let's move on to the next phase. Okay, phase 2. So you've learned the melody and you can play it in multiple places on the neck now. Here's where things start to get interesting. Think about a great soul singer, someone like Aretha Franklin or Ray Charles. They don't just sing a melody the same way every time. From verse to verse, they're stretching notes, adding little runs, leaving space where you don't expect it. Joe Satriani, he does the same thing with his instrumental tunes. The original melody is the foundation, but what he does around it, it's pure expression. Those singers and players, they're not just mindlessly regurgitating a pattern. They own the melody deeply enough to play around with it. That's exactly what we're going to do with the Let It Be melody, and we're going to build it up one step at a time. First, let's just play through the melody and add vibrato to every note that we pause on. Check this out. Just that one bit of phrasing changes the whole feel. Next, we're going to start sliding into some select notes along with the vibrato. Listen to how this changes the character. This time through, let's add some bends in with our slides and vibrato. Have a listen. And And finally, let's start playing around with the rhythm a little bit. We'll throw in some grace notes and other articulations. Now listen to what we have. What we just did is the missing link between guitar players that get stuck and those that move on and become accomplished musicians. We didn't learn a new scale. We didn't memorize another pattern. We took something simple and musical, internalized it deeply enough to make it our own, and we created something original with it. That's the process that separates players that keep growing from players who flatline. The ones that grow, they're not necessarily practicing more. They're practicing differently. They're taking what they learn and doing something with it. Okay, moving on to phase 3. This is where everything starts to connect. Speaking of connections, here's something I want you to think about. Did anyone watching realize that this whole melody is contained within the C major pentatonic scale with one note added? Now that added note is F, and it gives us what's called a hexatonic scale, or 6 notes. This particular combination is sometimes referred to as the Dickey Betts scale for the Allman Brothers guitar player who used it so often. If you caught that, let me know in the comments. I'm curious how many of you actually made that connection. Now we're going to start making some more connections here, and it's going to blow your playing wide open. The first exercise, I want you to play the rhythm of the Let It Be melody, but use entirely different notes from the hexatonic scale. We're going to keep the phrasing, keep the rhythm, but make up your own note choices. You're not playing the melody anymore. You're using it as a rhythmic and structural framework to improvise something new. Let me give it a try over the backing track. Now, let's do the same thing with triads. We're going to use C, G, A minor, and F triads on just the E, B, and G strings in a couple of different positions. Here's a C at the 8th position, G at the 7th, A minor and F at the 5th. Now, here's C at the 3rd position, G at the 3rd position, F at the 1st position, and we're going to use this C triad at the 5th fret of the D, G, and B strings. That's the same idea. Use the rhythm of the melody, but let the triad notes guide your choices. And use the triad shapes, but don't be afraid to add an extra note or two. I call this making up triad-based licks. Let's try it over the backing track and see if we can get it to sound like something. Now we're going to do the same exercise, but we're going to use the C major scale in a couple of different positions. Here's a couple of positions of the C major scale. We're going to sort of blend a pattern at the 10th and 12th positions. Once again, we're going to improvise something using the rhythm of the melody, but entirely different notes from that C major scale. Here we go. You notice that each time we do this, the framework stays the same, but the musical personality changes. And finally, let's put it all together and improvise a brand new melody, a solo, using all of the concepts that we just went through. We might even quote the first few notes of the Let It Be melody to get things started, but then let it go where it wants to go. Let's give it a try. So let's bring it back to where we started. The reason so many intermediate guitarists stay intermediate forever, it isn't talent. It's not even practice time. It's that they're stuck at the bottom of the learning hierarchy, which is memorization. And don't get me wrong, memorization has its place, but it's just the starting point. The real growth happens when you start taking what you've memorized, you adapt it, you personalize it, and you start creating something with it. That is the missing link between players that plateau and players that become real musicians. So here's your assignment. Pick some melodies that you love and go through these 3 stages. Don't skip to the end and trust the process. I promise it's going to help you more than you can imagine. And if you got something out of this video, do me a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss anything. I put a lot of time into these videos, and your support, it helps me grow, and it really does make a difference. As always, work hard, but have a lot of fun with that guitar. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.